Of Shows by Tertullian. Chapter 5. In the matter of their origins, as these are somewhat obscure and but little known to many among us, our investigations must go back to a remote antiquity, and our authorities be none other than books of heathen literature. Various authors are extant who have published works on the subject. The origin of the games as given by them is this. Timaeus tells us that immigrants from Asia, under the leadership of Tyrannus, who, in a contest about his native kingdom, had succumbed to his brother, settled down in Etruria. Well, among other superstitious observances under the name of religion, they set up in their new home public shows. The Romans, at their own request, obtained from them skilled performers, the proper seasons, the name, too, for it is said they are called ludi from Lydia. And though Varro derives the name of ludi from ludus, that is, from play, as they called the Luperci also ludii, because they ran about making sport, still that sporting of young men belongs in his view to festal days in temples and objects of religious veneration. However, it is of little consequence the origin of the name, when it is certain that the thing springs from idolatry. The Liberalia, under the general designation of ludi, clearly declared the glory of Father Bacchus, for to Bacchus these festivities were first consecrated by grateful peasants, in return for the boon he conferred on them, as they say, making known the pleasures of wine. Then the consualia were called ludi, and at first were in honor of Neptune, for Neptune has the name of consus also. Thereafter Romulus dedicated the Equirria to Mars, though they claim the consualia too for Romulus, on the ground that he consecrated them to Consus, the god, as they will have it, of counsel. God of the council, forsooth, in which he planned the rape of the Sabine virgins for wives to his soldiers. An excellent counsel truly, and still I suppose reckoned just and righteous by the Romans themselves. I may not say by God. This goes also to taint the origin. You cannot, surely, hold that to be good which is sprung from sin, from shamelessness, from violence, from hatred, from a fratricidal founder, from a son of Mars. Even now, at the first turning point in the circus, there is a subterranean altar to this same Consus, with an inscription to this effect: Consus, great in council, Mars, in battle, mighty tutelary deities. The priests of the state sacrifice at the turning post on the nones of July, the priest of Romulus and the Vestals on the 12th before the calends of September. In addition to this, Romulus instituted games in honor of Jupiter Feretrius on the Tarpeian hill, according to the statement Piso has handed down to us, called both Tarpeian and Capitoline. After him, Numa Pompilius instituted games to Mars and Robigo, for they have also invented this goddess of rust. Then Tullus Hostilius, then Ancus Martius, and various others in succession did the like. As to the idols in whose honor these games were established, ample information is to be found in the pages of Suetonius Tranquillus. But we need say no more to prove the accusation of idolatrous origin. Chapter 6. To the testimony of antiquity is added that of later games instituted in their turn, and betraying their origin from the titles which they bear even at the present day, in which it is imprinted as on their very face, for what idol and for what religious object the games, whether of one kind or the other, were designed. You have festivals bearing the name of the Great Mother, Magna Mater, and Apollo of Ceres too, and Neptune, and Jupiter Latiaris, and Flora, all celebrated for a common end. The others have their religious origin in the birthdays and solemnities of kings, in public successes in municipal holidays. There are also testamentary exhibitions in which funeral honors are rendered to the memories of private persons, and this according to an institution of ancient times. For from the first, the ludi were regarded as of two kinds, sacred and funereal, that is, in honor of the heathen deities and in honor of the dead. But in the matter of idolatry it makes no difference with us under what name or title it is practiced, while it has to do with the wicked spirits whom we adjure. If it is lawful to offer homage to the dead, it will be just as lawful to offer it to their gods. You have the same origin in both cases. There is the same idolatry. There is on our part the same solemn renunciation of idolatry. Chapter 7. The two kinds of public games, then, have one origin, and they have common names as owning the same parentage. So, too, as they are equally tainted with the sin of idolatry, their foundress, they must needs be like each other in their pomp. But the more ambitious preliminary display of the circus games, to which the name procession specially belongs, is in itself the proof to whom the whole thing appertains, in the many images, the long line of statues, the chariots of all sorts, the thrones, the crowns, the dresses. What high religious rites besides, what sacrifices precede, come between, and follow? How many guilds, how many priesthoods, how many offices are set astir, is known to the inhabitants of the great city in which the demon convention has its headquarters. If these things are done in humbler style in the provinces, in accordance with their inferior means, still all circus games must be counted as belonging to that from which they are derived. The fountain from which they spring defiles them. The tiny streamlet from its very spring-head, the little twig from its very budding, contains in it the essential nature of its origin. It may be grand or mean. No matter. Any circus procession whatever is offensive to God. Though there be few images to grace it, there is idolatry in one. Though there be no more than a single sacred car, it is a chariot of Jupiter. Anything of idolatry whatever, whether meanly arrayed or modestly rich and gorgeous, taints it in its origin. Chapter 8. To follow out my plan in regard to places, the circus is chiefly consecrated to the sun, whose temple stands in the middle of it, and whose image shines forth from its temple summit. For they have not thought it proper to pay sacred honors underneath a roof to an object that is itself in open space. Those who assert that the first spectacle was exhibited by Circe, and in honor of the sun her father, as they will have it, maintain also the name of circus was derived from her. Plainly, then, the enchantress did this in the name of the parties whose priestess she was. I mean the demons and spirits of evil. What an aggregation of idolatries you see, accordingly, in the decoration of the place. Every ornament of the circus is a temple by itself. The eggs are regarded as sacred to the castors, by men who are not ashamed to profess faith in their production from the egg of a swan, which was no other than Jupiter himself. The dolphins vomit forth in honor of Neptune. Images of Cessia, so called, as the goddess of sowing, of Messia, so called, as the goddess of reaping, of Tertullian, so called as the fruit-protecting deity, load the pillars. In front of these you have 3 altars to these 3 gods, great, mighty, victorious. They reckon these of Samothrace. The huge obelisk, as Hermeteles affirms, is set up in public to the sun. Its inscription, like its origin, belongs to Egyptian superstition. Cheerless were the demon gathering without their Mater Magna, and so she presides there over the Euripus. Consus, as we have mentioned, lies hidden underground at the Murcian goals. These two sprang from an idol, for they will have it that Murcia is the goddess of love, and to her at that spot they have consecrated a temple. See, Christian, how many impure names have taken possession of the circus. You have nothing to do with a sacred place which is tenanted by such multitudes of diabolic spirits. And speaking of places, this is the suitable occasion for some remarks in anticipation of a point that some will raise. What then, you say, shall I be in danger of pollution if I go to the circus when the games are not being celebrated? There is no law forbidding the mere places to us, for not only the places for show gatherings, but even the temples, may be entered without any peril of his religion by the servant of God, if he only has some honest reason for it, unconnected with their proper business and official duties. Why, even the streets and the marketplace, and the baths and the taverns, and our very dwelling places, are not altogether free from idols. Satan and his angels have filled the whole world. It is not by merely being in the world, however, that we lapse from God, but by touching and tainting ourselves with the world's sins. I shall break with my Maker, that is, by going to the Capitol or the temple of Serapis to sacrifice or adore, as I shall also do by going as a spectator to the circus and the theater. The places in themselves do not contaminate, but what is done in them. From this, even the places themselves, we maintain, become defiled. The polluted things pollute us. It is on this account that we set before you, to whom places of the kind are dedicated, that we may prove the things which are done in them to belong to the idol patrons, to whom the very places are sacred. End of chapter 8.